Hey, small business owners. Have your sales gone up but your bank account doesn't? Has getting to know your numbers been on your to-do list for a while? Let's face it, you're good at doing the work in your business, but the money is hard. Have you noticed that by the time you pay your bills and pay everyone else each month, there's just not that much left for you? It's just not fair. As a business owner, you know you deserve to be getting paid more than you are, but you just can't seem to figure out where all the money went. What if there was another way? What if there was a way to tell your money where to go instead of wondering where it went? What if you had money in your bank accounts at the end of the month to show for all your hard work? Well, this is the sign you've been looking for, that you're not alone and help is just a call away. The team at Likes Accounting prides themselves on being financial translators that can help you find smarter ways to make money, save money, and finally start paying yourself a salary that you deserve. Working with Likes Accounting not only helps you know your numbers, but they're cheerleaders helping you build a more profitable lifestyle business. The team at Likes Accounting are just a bunch of numbers nerds. They're all self-employed experts with experience in your industry. Megan, the owner, is not only fun, easy to understand, and crazy smart, she's even a CPA. Tech to CEO listeners get a free review of their QuickBooks online when they mention this podcast and visit likesaccounting.com. Again, get a free review of your financial data when you visit likesaccounting.com and the Tech to CEO podcast.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Technician to CEO podcast. I'm your host, Wesley Maria with Bergflow. Today, I'm joined by Rob Anderson, owner of Clean Power Wash. He also runs a big YouTube channel. He's massive in the Christmas light business. Rob, thanks for spending time with me today.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Just a couple of questions. Tell us a little bit about your story. How did you come to being in this industry?
Sure. So basically, I was always doing the power washing part-time. Started learning a bit more about the business, learning more business growth, sales, marketing, all that. Was able to grow the business to the point that I had 3 full-time employees. I was still working a full-time corporate job. Was blessed to be able to be offered a buyout along with a lot of other fellow employees, and was able to make that transition right at that cusp where I kind of realized that I was going to struggle to have employees that would continue to care about the business if I didn't care about it and was not fully invested myself.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward 5 years later, we go from $250,000 to hitting $1 million, and now it's hitting that second and third million. So it's been quite a ride making that journey. But it was something when kind of got to that point in my life where I realized I knew where I would end up if I stayed in that corporate job, versus having that ability to be able to go out and kind of control my own destiny.
Yeah, great observation, Rob. Being able to decide my team's going to need more of me. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of business owners, their business is like a sideline gig, or it's something that they do. And one of the important things that we came across is people have to learn, my business is not me. My business allows me to be who I am. It's the vehicle that attaches me to the success that I want for the future. So just a couple of questions. What was the journey like for you from technician to CEO? Obviously, you had the buyout, you had the option. What was that mental journey to say, okay, I don't want to be a technician. I want to take on this beast called entrepreneurship?
Sure. So I think the interesting thing for the way that I went about it, I mean, I love to do the work. I love getting out in the field. Sometimes it's the only way to really de-stress. And quite frankly, when I was doing the power washing and working in telecom, that was the only way I stayed sane. One job would be frustrating me and I'd go over to the other. The big difference though is a lot of times, and I was definitely still doing some production and things back then, but those last couple of years, I mean, I was basically running a business on all my lunch breaks. We'd get a half-hour lunch break or an hour lunch break, and I'd run out, grab a bite to eat, and go ahead and um, do 2 estimates on my 15-minute breaks when everybody else is de-stressing from the last angry client that they were talking to. I'm following up, figuring out ways to do so many of the estimates back then were pretty much all done. Look at Google Maps real quick, shoot somebody a price. There wasn't a whole big sales process. It was, okay, Wesley, you want a price? What's your address? Cool. Text you a number. You say, good. And then somebody would handle production.
Yeah.
And so I got to a point where, again, I had 3 guys working full time for me. And so I was able to jump out instead of a lot of times people are trying to do everything in the business. And then they get to the point where, all right, now I'm too busy doing all the power washing. Now I need somebody to come in. I already had 3 guys doing that. And so that made that transition. I honestly, quite frankly, the timing worked out great, but in most situations, a lot of people will jump a lot sooner because they have to in order to continue to fit those needs. And I always said a big thing for me was finding people that were underemployed that I didn't have enough work for people full time, but I could find somebody who had that similar mindset as me that wanted to work another 20 or 30 hours or 15 hours. As long as it was consistent, I could use that. So.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of businesses, people go out there and they start a business because they want to own a business. And they have this idea on, I want to build a business. And they're always, scratching around a dumpster for new ideas. What can I add? And then you see these $1 million, $2 million, $3 million businesses, but they do like 8 different things because they're always looking. And what they struggle to do is find depth within what it is that they do.
Yeah.
The more successful business I've seen are the guys that build a business around, I can do this really well.
Yeah.
And I was listening to a podcast that Elon Musk was on, and they said to him, he was talking about Tesla and how people shorted his stock and, trying to give him a hard time for him. And one thing that he said that really struck a chord with me is he didn't build a business to make money. He built a business to make a difference. So whether it is, SpaceX or Tesla or renewable energy or whatever it is, buying Twitter for that matter, it's always about, can I make a difference?
Yeah.
So on this journey from technician to CEO, you guys went from $250,000 to $1 million. What's the day? And I say that in jest. What is the day when you realized, okay, I'm a CEO, no more, I'm not a business owner anymore. I'm truly a CEO.
Always a tricky question, but it's being a CEO or just sending the crews out and no longer being in the field for extended periods of time. Being caged in an office and learning to be comfortable with that. I don't really know if I could pinpoint a time. Certainly I've definitely transitioned to more time sitting on my butt than sitting on the truck. But I'm not really sure.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, people want to make this transition because they've got this dream attached. They've got this perception around, well, when I'm a CEO of my own business, I'll be happy. I'll be successful. I have this, I'll have that. And, you went from a paying job where you worked 40, 50 hours a week to now being a CEO or the owner of a company where you work 24 hours a day. Yeah. It's not, I'm going to get to that tomorrow. Somebody else is going to handle that. Oh, the call center will pick that one up. It's you leave a full-time job just to work more hours for yourself. So, I mean, that's a tough journey. It definitely takes a toll on you as an individual. It taxes you higher to develop yourself and your people at a higher level. What made you decide to take on that journey?
Again, I've always had an aggressive growth mindset, wanting to, have that internal drive, that more, which obviously can be, a bad thing sometimes, but I'd always rather be growing. I don't want to look back and say, man, if only we tried harder, if only we'd done more.
Yeah.
The previous job that I had, I talked to people all the time on subsidized phone service and this and that, and needing help from people around them, to bring equipment back and whatnot. And I'm like, well, I can't do that. You guys need to come get it. And it always hit me as something that, I don't want to end up when I'm older in a situation where I have no friends that can help me. I have no means to take care of things. I have to have, a 35-cent increase in a fee is a big deal. Those are all things, and the quote of all men are self-made men, but only successful men will admit that. And, I want to be in that position where, yeah, I have been successful because I've done the things and I continue to go after and push. So,
yeah, I mean, a lot of guys aspire to have that mindset. And one of the things that I always teach with clients is there's no substitute for grit.
yeah.
That's one of the qualifying criteria for us when we engage a client is if they've got grit, we'll work with them.
Yeah.
And I think that for me is one of the key attributes of somebody that truly wants to take their life to the next level is, do you have grit? It can be developed over time. We can dive into the psychology of that, but I think internally there has to be a drive to say, I want more. I want to do more. I want to be able to influence my environment more. So on this journey, if I had to ask your wife or the people around you or the friends that you used to have or used to work with in the telecom business, how have you grown because of this decision? Who was Rob before and who's Rob today?
I think a huge part of the growth has just been the constant learning, the constant, new podcasts, audiobooks. I'll say I've learned more on Audible than I did in university. But that ability, I mean, it's kind of funny, when we're in school, we don't want to read books, and then you realize, oh, well, I don't want to read a literary book. I want to read a book that's going to teach me something, that's going to train me, that's going to make my mind think about things in a different way. And I think that's the big focus there, or that's what's kind of shifted.
So on that, and I'm a big fan of reading and always have book recommendations. If you had to give a book recommendation to somebody on this journey from technician to CEO, what would you say is that one book that really, hit you between the eyes and made you realize it's going to require a new level of me?
Man. I mean, as far as list a ton of books. I mean, Start With Why is super important. The cliche thing for me when I made the jump was that I just finished reading Quitter and Start, both motivating, both to look beyond just the shiny object syndrome. Like you said, everybody wants to go open up a business, but does it make sense? I'd say that, and then just a lot of the Ask Gary V stuff. I love listening to that. Crush It was awesome because again, with the YouTube side of it, building that brand and personality, but also just looking at it from a how do I have to develop myself? How do I have to develop our mindset to be able to make that progress?
And I mean, Rob, you and I, we talk a lot, and one of the things that I've heard you say many times is how much you invest into your leaders. Obviously there's book recommendations to them. How important is it for you to invest and have that mindset of, I'm not the person with all the knowledge. I read the books. I'm going to tell you guys how to do this. I need you guys to, level up. How important would you say that is on this technician to CEO journey?
It's extremely important. And certainly early on, we didn't have the financial means to take people with us to, to all the different conventions and events and summits and things like that. Last year, basically took everybody. In the past 2 years, I've taken almost all of our leadership to different events so they can kind of see it, and then kind of also get that better understanding of why I'm excited about doing this or this, instead of it just being like, oh, Rob disappeared for 3 or 4 days, had some fun, and now he has a laundry list of things for us to do.
Yeah.
But getting them to be able to see that, to be able to also rub shoulders with other people. I mean, the first convention I ever went to, realizing that I wasn't the only person frustrated with work or needing to get more clients or dealing with crazy clients, and then you realize, oh, okay, it's not just me. There's a lot of things going on. And so that takes a lot of weight off your shoulders, and just realizing like, oh, it's not that hiring employees is difficult in our area. No, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
If it was easy to find great employees, everybody would have a really successful business. I mean, let's be honest. And all those really awesome people would all start their own businesses.
Yeah.
So unless we level up the entire world, we're going to be in that situation. So.
Yeah, and that's why that saying "speed of the leader, speed of the pack" is so important. And I think a lot of people, when you're at that senior level, when you're at that CEO level, your business is growing. You kind of look at your people and say, okay, now it's up to you guys. You guys need to grow. I'm going to go off here into La La Land and sit on the couch and, binge watch Netflix. You guys go and do the thing. There's always a need for a strong leader. A leader is the one that sets the vision and sets the focus. And people join your company. People join our companies to come and work with us because they're inspired by that vision. Everybody likes a hero's journey. I want to come work at your company because I'm so inspired by your hero's journey that I want my hero's journey to live inside of that. So if I had to ask people around you, how can others see you being a CEO, or do you still present yourself as a technician?
I made progress since last year. So that's always part of it. I also, part of my personal identity has always been that I will never ask an employee to do something that I wouldn't do. And I've always, my best managers and leaders have always been people that could do the job the best, or that were at least capable of it, because it's hard to work for a leader that, well, I told you how to build the widget, you should go do it, but they don't know how to build it themselves. Like, they couldn't actually do it. And that's always been, it's been a yin and yang. It's been a good and bad thing on that. I mean, certainly the amount of job sites that I was on this year was drastically less than last year, and it was less than the year before.
Yeah, and that journey is I do, we do, they do. And I think a lot of people want to bring people straight into I do, they do. And I think there's, for me, the magic is we do. Is we've all got skin in the game. We're all going to make this company successful. We're all going to succeed because of it. Yeah. And I think this dichotomy of, well, I'm the CEO and you guys are the other guys, just do what I tell you to do. I see that's where culture gets broken down, because we inadvertently create this us and them, us in the field versus them in the office mindset. One of the things that I think is massively important, and I know that you do this really well, is how important would you say a peer-to-peer network is? Being in the room with other people like you, people that, you said it earlier, people who got their butts handed to them, got their teeth kicked in, hearing that they've got the same challenges.
I've realized, and literally just got back from an event this past week, that there was a couple times we're sitting in, I mean, it was literally the epitome of the whole mastermind. It had nothing to do with the topics that we were going over. It had nothing to do with the class that we just learned, but just the brain power around the table, that similar mindset, but also the different, this person's superpower, that person's superpower, that perspective that somebody else is giving the experience. It really and truly, like, I could go learn about anything with this group of people and it would be amazing. And then it's also again, it's good. One of the groups I'm in, it meets quarterly.
Yeah.
And so it's phenomenal to have that quarterly reset. Just to, all right, no matter what, I'm out of the business for 3 days. And it's been, when we get into our Christmas lights, it's insane. And 2 Augusts ago, we took an extra day, did some off-roading, and like that was some of the most fun therapy, and also for you business people, when you're driving a side-by-side ATV, other than setting your music playlist, you're not looking at anything else. I mean, we were balls of the wall, just hauling ass, going into streams, kicking mud, and it was so much fun to just be fully disconnected and like in that moment, which as a business person, you're always, it's hard to be fully in the moment because our brain is always thinking about like 100 things a minute. And how do we improve this? What do we do next? What about this person? What about this problem? So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that the peer-to-peer network for me is so important because, being a CEO is a lonely journey, man.
Mm-hmm.
We would love to think that the people that work for us lay awake at night, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, worrying about the success of the company. For the most part, some of them are just worrying, what does my paycheck look like at the end of the month or end of the week? Am I going to get paid? Is there job security? I think as you move up in this evolution of becoming the new you, the new business owner, the new CEO, it requires you to find those places of quiet that, I can side by side with somebody else that's getting their ass handed to them. And you know what? They're still alive.
Yeah.
They haven't crawled up into the fetus position and died. Their business, they're struggling. Whether the market's up or down, we all experience the same pain. It's how we react. And I think a peer-to-peer network allows us the environment to do that without judgment.
Yeah.
It's not, hey, tell me how good your business is doing, how well you're doing. Is, hey, I just want to be there for you. If it's just playing navigator for the day so that we don't get stuck in a river somewhere, that's it. I just want to be on your team and show you that you're not alone on this journey. And I think, realizing that we're not alone is what the peer-to-peer network unlocks for us.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for people that want to change their perspective around, I'm not a business owner or own an operator, I'm truly becoming a CEO? Because I deal with a lot of business owners, and they've got this mindset around, well, when I'm CEO, my problems are going to go away because all my other people are going to solve my problems.
Yeah.
What advice would you have to people or for people to say, you need to change your perspective around what a CEO does?
Well, I think part of that's just finding your primary focus. And obviously as an entrepreneur going from technician to CEO, you take I don't like this task. Bookkeeping was the first thing we offloaded, and it was important. I knew that I'm smart and capable of doing it, but I had no desire to do it. And so then offload that, and then offload the next thing, offload answering the phone calls, offload answering the emails. Still things to monitor, inspect what you expect, but being able to continue to take those things off my plate and trying to find people that are better at things than I am, or that love to do that thing that I don't enjoy doing.
Yeah, because the ask of a CEO is to be the visionary, and if they're constantly looking inside, either being the solution or being so in the weeds of the business, it's going to become very evident to the rest of the team that there's a lack of a 3-year plan or a 5-year plan, because we're not building something for the future. We're just, bucketing water out the boat today so we don't, those boats not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I think that for me is one of the nice things about working with CEOs that are truly mindful of, I'm going to build something bigger than myself. I'm going to build something that it's going to be bigger than my ability to run. And, when CEOs get to that point, Dirk, the owner of Bergflow, he says for many years, his biggest ambition was to be the CEO of 5 different companies until he became the CEO. And he's like, hell no, I do not want to be the CEO anymore. I would much rather be a business owner that has 5 CEOs that report to me.
Mm.
But in order to know what a strong CEO looks like, is you need to have had yards on the field as a CEO.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people want to, they kind of butt up against that ceiling of moving into the next evolution, because they don't know what it takes to get there. So, Rob, what are you excited about the future? If I was in your company, if I was in your peer-to-peer network, what are you excited about the future?
I mean, honestly, the tactical stuff for us, we're excited about opening up another location. The plan is in the next couple of years to be buying, or really in the next 2.5 years, either to be buying the building and location that we're at right now, or going out and building, so that we can, have that build another asset instead of continuing to funnel somebody else's. But really excited about that, growing the brand and realizing that, the revenue goals that we have for this year it's not about the money. It's about building. I want to build a extremely strong and resilient business. That's the goal here. By having, eventually at least 3 locations, that enables us to be able to be a dominant force in those markets, to be able to, when a COVID happens or recession or whatever, that we're able to be strong and be able to handle that, and quite frankly, absorb all the ones that aren't. And continue to gain market share and things on those. So
that it's beautifully said, because that's where opportunity shows up, and that's the mindset of a CEO is, I want to get to a point of strength where I can capitalize on opportunity. It's not, hey, can I get the next client? Or can I get the next deal? Or how well is my, drip campaign to my clients? Those are tasks. Those are minutiae detail within the business. That 50,000 foot view that a CEO has to say, I want to build a resilient company, in your example, that's able to grow beyond our capacity. And I think that's the inspiring thing for me. This journey of CEO is good and bad. So tell me, what's been your greatest success?
One of my biggest successes or goals for last year was 30 days out of the business. I've got kids. My oldest is 18. I got 18, 16, 13, and 8.
Okay.
And realizing the amount of time that I have left with them, and wanting to go out and make those memories and stuff. That's quite frankly my biggest one, was being able to do that, and also being able to have the people working here, so that because I'm on vacation or taking a trip, but I still have that income coming in.
Yeah. I saw a beautiful thing the other day. Somebody was, especially when you lead people that get paid by the hour, they say, well, I want to buy a new iPhone. If you earn $15 an hour, that's 80 hours of your time that you're selling for a new iPhone. So it changes the perspective. What you're saying is, I got to be away from my business for 30 days. That was my objective. One, because the same way that we can calculate a per hour rate on what it costs to acquire a new iPhone, you can say, okay, I've got 3 summers left with my kids in my house. That's it. There's a number. And we have to be intentional as business owners to say, yes, I want to grow this business, but outside of this business, I still need to be a dad. I still need to be a husband. And your business has to allow you to be better in those fields, not take away from your ability to be a good dad or a good husband, or even a good peer-to-peer in your networks.
Yep.
What has been your biggest blunder? Biggest lesson you learned?
Biggest lesson learned. There's a lot. I mean, I'd say that I think the biggest struggle is the constant roller coaster of emotions. And as open as we are with our teams, there's still things that go on, or things that you think, or things that we quite frankly have to have those necessary thoughts of, this person's not working out, or we're going to have to make that change, or this, seeing that writing on the wall. And I think the other thing is not being able to mentally reset quick enough. When we get into those, when we get derailed, getting, all right, it's happened. We got knocked down then. Let's get back up. Let's keep fighting. And that's just, I think, naturally a human struggle. We got to have somebody posted a thing. It was like, what's the happiest animal in the world? It's goldfish, because it's got a 10-second memory. So however crappy the last 10 seconds were, in 10 more seconds, it won't remember. Oh, this is great. I'm just swimming. And so, become more like a goldfish.
Yeah. When I talk to business owners and I ask them that question, they all start with, man, there's been so many. And I think that rings true for many business owners. As in that peer-to-peer network, in your relationship, your wife knows maybe, we'll call it 70 or 80% of the stuff that you struggle with, because that's what you're willing to share. But there's always this 20% of, well, do I have a safe environment to be vulnerable enough? And I think that's the hardest thing for a CEO, is to say, you know what, it's okay that I've failed. It's okay. There's no CEO school. There's no entrepreneur school that, because the opponent that you're playing against is the public market. It's people's perspectives. It's people's opinion. It's how people feel or perceive you in a given situation. So there's so many variables. I think the only thing that we can control is how we show up in that moment. Rob, where to from here? What advice would you give others that want to go from technician to CEO?
Do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to, quite frankly, you also have to make sure, and you're talking about the spouse just recently, you have to make sure that they understand why you're doing it. The whole, they understand the why, they can deal with any how, or what has to happen. And I think that's a huge thing, because quite frankly, if your spouse is not behind you, and you want to go from technician to CEO, or from W-2 to owning a business, there's a higher likelihood that you're not going to succeed if they're not behind you. So it's important to get the people around you to, and that's why being able to share the vision. Yes, there's struggles, and I see a lot of business owners, they hyper focus on the struggles because they're real and everybody sees them. But there's a bigger thing, is the struggle is within the vision. And how do we overcome that? The bigger thing that we buy into, the bigger thing that we motivate, is the vision. And that's why, for me, a CEO is somebody that can truly and strongly cast a vision. Because, I mean, you said it, there's an emotional toll. There's times where you feel like, man, am I doing enough? And then you start getting in your head, it's like, man, do my team think I'm doing enough? Does my wife think I'm doing enough? So there's all these asks of you as a CEO, your state of emotion, or your emotional agility to bounce back after you got your ass handed to you. I think that's one of the key things that I see a lot of CEOs miss, because well, it's my business, I'm going to fix it. And if this doesn't work, I'm just going to hire somebody else. And there's always an emotional toll with that decision, whether it is letting go of a strong team member, or realizing that you are the bottleneck, you are, the anchor that's holding it back. So there's a constant barrage of things that attacks your state of emotion, which I think is a great point, Rob. Obviously, I know that you a little bit about your business. So what are the different aspects of your business? Do you guys just do power washing? Sure. So the main brand is Clean Power Wash. We've been doing that for 15 plus years. And now we've got Delmarva Christmas lights, and also WeLightStuffUp.com. So Christmas light installation, we'll be getting into landscape lighting, and kind of just making more of that side of the business, lighting, because this will probably be the last year or we'll probably be about 50-50 between wash and lights,
Mhm.
which is just crazy. And it's necessary for us to keep growing both, because if one grows too much, then the other one's not going to grow as well. But and then certainly, like, we've got on here the youtube.com/clean power wash. You can subscribe on there. You can check us out on Facebook for either Delmarva Christmas Lights or Clean Power Wash. So, yeah.
So running these two beasts, and I mean, one is Christmas lights and one is power washing, and in this industry, there's always a lot of hand holding across those two businesses.
Mm-hmm.
How much time do you actually spend running those businesses?
I would say way less now, running the actual day to day with the power washing.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas lights, being such an intense season, there's definitely a lot more active management of that. Part of my goals this year was days off in Q1 and Q3. Q4 is just get it done. There's no booking out further beyond Christmas for a Christmas light install. You've got to get it in that window.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely a lot more active management, a lot more involvement, and that even starts, in June and July, trying to get ready for that. But we got to get a lot of preparation and a lot of things there. So.
Yeah, and to that point, I think there's a very different sales strategy around those. People, commercial buildings want to get their, power washing done or their windows cleaned. Residential people, my mother-in-law is coming, I want to get the windows cleaned. Otherwise, she tells me my house is not clean enough. When you talk about Christmas lights, you can't just go to somebody's house and say, well, I think you need Christmas lights. Yeah. It's whether you want it or not, whether they buy into so it's two very different animals. You've got a horse and a wolf next to each other, and they're both pulling a cart. And I think that therefore it requires a different management, a different response. One brings lots of pressure over a compressed period.
Yep.
The other one is you can just build up stamina in that, in your clean power wash business. It's about repetition. It's about improvement. The Christmas light business is a different strategy. It's seizing opportunity when it arrives. And can we be ready? So when you got,
I always think it's cool too that I played multiple sports in high school, and so we love that switch because we're like, all right, dude, I am so ready for Christmas lights, and you're like, I am so done with Christmas lights. Or like, man, I would love to stop spraying soap and getting dirty all day, and I'd love to just climb up in a tree and not shoot Bambi, but put Christmas lights up. So it's good to have that shift.
Yeah. Well, in the past, when you got stuck, how did you become unstuck? How did mentally? You spoke about that that when you get beaten down, you're at that lonely CEO level at the top. How did you become unstuck? Whether it was going to the next million, whether it is, I want to start doing Christmas lights. I want to keep my team busy in the off power wash season. How did you become unstuck mentally to say, I want to go to that next level?
So just, again, get out and do it. I mean, it's easy to get thought or stuck in the overthinking it portion of it instead of, get somebody massive imperfect action. If you go ahead and wait till it's all perfect, it's going to take forever and you might never reach that point. But if you go ahead and get going at it and then improve on the way, that'll get stuff done. And getting unstuck sometimes is like you said, the peer network, getting a different perspective, looking at it from outside. And there's, knowing what you know now, would you have made the same decision that you just made or that you'd made previously? And if not, okay, cool. Take that action and go ahead and modify things there.
For me, I was, so I do a lot of reading, listen to a lot of stuff. I write a lot of content for Workflow. I do a lot of public speaking, obviously coaching and stuff like that. One of the things that I came across recently is a brand becomes a brand when it's consistent. You can have a great Christmas season this year, you can have a great experience with a client on the clean power wash side. But when you can consistently do that, then you're building a brand, not a transaction. And I think that for me is figuring out your why, figuring out your how is when, the why is up to you. The how is with your team. And the focus on the how has to be, how do we build a brand? How do we repetitively deliver great value, great customer satisfaction, great brand perception? I mean, you've got a very successful YouTube channel. I think a lot of people are interested in what you've done successfully over time. Rob, I don't want to take all your time. Thanks for spending time. If people want to get hold of you, they want to check out your YouTube channel, it's youtube.com/clean power wash.
Yep.
If they want to get hold of you, they want to get an estimate from you, they want to build a Christmas light business, they want to sell the Christmas light business, where do they get hold of you?
Facebook's going to be the best way, but go through the business page at least initially. Or if you find me, it's facebook.com/Rob Anderson Jr. You can send a friend request, but send a Facebook message, because otherwise I get so many that I typically don't check them much. But if you send me a message, then I'm going to be able to better see, okay, cool, I can respond to that. And it's also nice because then I can respond with voice messages, which I feel like can a lot of times be more valuable. And I can do that right in that moment. You'll be surprised. Typically, you'll either get a response immediately or never. Hopefully, it's more immediately than never. But that's where I'm able to do that a lot faster. So,
all right. So Facebook.com/Rob Anderson Jr.
Yep.
Send you a Facebook message and a friend request and a birthday card, and yeah, there we go.
And an Omaha steak.
Omaha steak. All right, cool. Well, Rob, always a pleasure spending time with you. I'm definitely going to invite you back in. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for being vulnerable and telling people, that they're not alone in this. Whether you run a $100,000 business, $1 million, or a $5 billion business.
Yeah.
All those CEOs have the same challenges. They've got a mental battle that they need to overcome, and you can't compensate by blaming your team. You've got to celebrate with your team. So thank you for leading such a great team. Thank you for being on the call today. Rob, I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, Westley.
Cheers, mate.